joins us, former Black Hawk pilot, among other things. He's a senior director at the Center for Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Welcome. I wanted to put that as, or mention that as I introduced you, Brad, to just maybe have you put some puzzle pieces together for us, like how what happens there or what's said in Ukraine matters around the world, and China and Taiwan and other things that we watch.
Thanks for the question and the opportunity to join you. This is a point I've been making for quite a while now. H.R. McMaster, who's chair of our center, and I published a piece in Newsweek last year making this case. And let me explain it as clearly as I can. You often hear the word in Washington or from defense wonks like me, deterrence. And deterrence is a concept that is not about what you or I think. It's what our adversaries think about two things: about our military capability, what can we do militarily, and what are we politically willing to do. Right? And so here's the thing. No American soldiers are fighting or dying in Ukraine. We spent less than 2.8% of what we spent on the Pentagon over the same time period sending weapons to Ukraine. Okay? So if Beijing looks at this, they could conclude the following. If America is not willing to spend less than 3% of what they spent on the Pentagon to help the men, women, and children of Ukraine defend their homes against this unprovoked invasion, why would they be willing to send thousands of Americans to fight in the Taiwan Strait, many of them making the ultimate sacrifice? If they conclude that, that increases the chances that Beijing will conduct aggression that could have been deterred. Because, and here's the final point, deterrence is not hermetically sealed to one region or another. What happens in Kyiv won't stay in Kyiv. It will affect decisions in the Taiwan Strait. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit more. If you think about it this way, in China, they always say they have a much longer window of looking at things, right? That they have the much longer timetable, and I feel like that's even longer than it was in the past because of Xi Jinping basically being in power for life. He's been there under President Obama. He's been under President Trump, President Biden. How do you think he looks at these presidents? In other words, did he look at Obama and say, well, if I do something, Obama will respond with military force in Taiwan, Biden, Trump? How do you think he looks at the American presidents? It's a great question, and the essence of what you're asking there about timeframes is really important. I think there's a real danger if you look at what the Trump administration did in the Red Sea, where we curtailed the campaign against the Houthis, that Iranian terror proxy, only after about 2 months when it really was a 10-month campaign. And you look at how we've kind of lost interest after 2 or 3 years in helping the Ukrainian people defend themselves. There's a real danger that our adversaries might conclude that Americans talk a big game in the beginning. They make a good show of it for a year or two, but you can wear them down and wait them out. I'm an Afghanistan veteran, and the Taliban used to say, "You've got the watches, but we've got the time." So we can't have our adversaries concluding that Americans are good in the first quarter, but they don't make it to the fourth quarter. That will invite more aggression.
So it's more Americans than who the American president at the time might be.
It is conclusions about American tendencies and whether Americans have the political will to sustain conflicts even when they get hard and last a long time. There's differences between presidents, for sure, but there's also broader perceptions that transcend administrations about what Americans are willing and not willing to do.
So what's President Trump doing, in your view, right now in Ukraine? To come back to the kind of the micro and what we were talking about at the beginning, is he really turning his back? Is he playing some sort of, is he negotiating in some way, and he's really at the end of the day going to send these Patriots? I mean, what do you think is really going on?
Yeah, so so we've seen the suspension of the provision of Patriot air defense interceptors and guided multiple launch rocket systems. Let me just be very clear. If we deprive Ukraine of these interceptors, which are defensive weapons designed to shoot down incoming missiles, you will have more dead Ukrainians, men, women, and children. And if you deprive them of these gimlers that I just defined, then you're going to make Ukrainian forces less effective. And what do you think, what would anyone who has the most basic knowledge predict if you have the United States curtailing the provision of weapons to Ukraine? You'd expect Putin to double down and press the offensive. And that's exactly what we're seeing in the last 24 to 48 hours. So, Trump is flirting here with the disaster. Maybe it's not Kabul or Saigon level disaster, but he's courting disaster here with this decision. He's inviting additional aggression, and he will have no one to blame but himself if he continues with this suspension. And, and the idea is, well, I tried to make peace and you guys aren't interested, so I'm just going to walk away. Well, that works if we have no core national security interests at stake. But let's remember, 2 world wars started in Europe within a 30-year time span. The United States was ultimately pulled in, and across those 2 world wars, more than 500,000 Americans lost their lives. What happens in Europe matters there, and because of what I said earlier, perception of America and what we do and don't do in Ukraine will affect decisions in the next few years in the Taiwan Strait.
Right.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.